Hey everyone, this is Tony Teaches Tech. I'm Tony, and in this video I'm going to show you how to set up WordPress multi-site on an OpenLiteSpeed web server. Now this is going to be a tutorial, two-in-one tutorial for setting up WordPress multi-site for subdirectories and subdomains. So if this is something you want to learn how to do, let's go ahead and hop right on into the tutorial. All right, so I have two WordPress websites, basic vanilla WordPress websites, one at site1.xyz and this other one over here at site2.xyz. Now, we're going to start out with doing a configuration for a subdomain, and then we'll do the subdirectory kind of side by side. Most of the, actually, to tell you the truth, most of the steps in this process are very, very similar. There's just some subtle differences that you have to know as far as the configuration for rewrite rules on the web server itself. So I'll point those out along the way, but let's go ahead and first enable WordPress multi-site, because by default most WordPress installations don't have that enabled. So what I do have in the background is logged in via SSH to each one of these servers. And if you're not familiar with SSH, don't let that scare you. You can always use an FTP file manager to make the same configuration file changes that we're doing here. So in any case, we're going to be editing the same file. It's just a matter of how you're going to go about finding that file to edit it. So just try to follow along. And what we're going to do first, here on the left, I'm logged in as root to site1.xyz. Over here on the right, I'm logged in as root to site2.xyz. Okay, so let's go ahead and edit the configuration file at var www. Is it HTML, and then inside of here we have all of our WordPress files. The one we want to edit is wp-config.php, so this one right here. So wp-config.php. And pretty much all the way down here at the bottom, right above that's all happy editing, or stop editing, happy publishing. I'm going to put the following line of PHP code, which says wp allow multi-site true. And before I save this, I just want to show you what the default menu option looks like in the WordPress admin dashboard. So for site one, if we go to tools, we'll see that we have a sub-menu items here: available tools, import, export, site health, export personal data, and erase personal data. But when we come back in here and make our configuration file changes, those changes will be applied immediately. We just have to refresh the page. Now, if we look at the tools menu, we have this extra option at the bottom called network setup, and that is the multi-site setup. So if we click on that, it always tells you that you have to deactivate your plugins first. So let's go to our plugins and install plugins. Well, just for all these plugins that we have here, we will deactivate them temporarily just while we're installing the multi-site. Then we can come back here. And actually, the one other thing I want to point out specifically with OpenLiteSpeed is just to avoid any unforeseen issues, go into settings and permalink section and make sure you just pick the plain permalink option. And this, again, if you have something else like post name, you can revert back to that, but this is just for the installation. All right, so back in tools network setup, we get past that point. So for site1.xyz, we're going to do subdomains, and at this point, if you're interested in subdirectories, everything that I did up until this point still applies to you, but over here at site2.xyz, I went ahead and did all that prior to the video so we don't waste any of your time. And so we already have access to the network setup. I disabled the plugins and all that stuff. So over here at site2.xyz, we're going to do subdirectories. Okay, so, and you can see the difference. This is a subdirectory, while this is a subdomain. Okay, so everything else looks fine to me. I'm just going to keep the defaults for now. The only thing I want to point out, last thing, is for subdomains. You want to make sure you have your wildcard DNS record set up. So wherever you bought your domain name, you want to go into the DNS settings and add in a record for the wildcard character, which is the asterisk. And I'm going to show you how I did that for mine. So no matter where you got your domain name from, wherever you registered it, bought it, GoDaddy, DreamHost, something like that, I got Namecheap, but the same concept applies here. You just have to go find your domain name, find the DNS settings for that domain name, and add an A record with the wildcard character as the host, and the value is going to be your IP address of your web server. Okay, so in a nutshell, that's what you have to do. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then the next step when you hit install, WordPress is going to yell at you and say that it wasn't able to basically verify that those DNS records were set up properly. But I did that ahead of time. Go ahead and do that now, and let's go ahead and proceed with the installation. So I will click on install. And see, this is exactly what I was talking about. Wildcard DNS may not be configured correctly. So I might have done something wrong. Let's verify that this actually looks the way it should. So I want to make sure, and it should. I'm not sure actually why that happened. And as I was saying, to use a subdomain configuration, you must have a wildcard entry in your DNS. This usually means adding a asterisk hostname record pointing to your web server. We will revisit that in a second, but I want to proceed with the tutorial and finish with some of these options because there are some differences basically at this point. WordPress is assuming that we have an Apache web server, so we're going to have to make some modifications to these rewrite rules down here. Anyway, so right here, let's copy this block of PHP definitions up here. And as it says, we want to edit our wp-config file again. So let's open up the terminal window, open up that same exact config.php file, and right below where we defined the multi-site, let's add those, and you'll see subdomain install is true. Okay, so we'll save that, and then flipping over to subdirectory install. So if you're doing subdirectory installs, pay attention here. Go ahead and click on install, and we'll do the same thing. We will copy those PHP definitions. And over here on the right-hand side for site2.xyz, we will edit the same file. So var www html wp-config.php. And like I said, I was in here before I enabled multi-site, and just right below that, we will add those lines of code. And for this one, subdomain is false. Okay, now the difference that I was talking about is with these rewrite rules. So if you blindly follow these instructions, add an HT access with these rewrite rules, it's probably not going to work for you. OpenLiteSpeed, and I have that open up here, the official openlightspeed.org website has specific rewrite rules that you should be applying to your WordPress multi-site configuration. So as you can see here, subdomain networks for OpenLiteSpeed, we want to add these rewrite rules. So what I'm going to do is go into the, instead of modifying the .ht access file in the root of your web directory, a better place to do it is through the control panel. So I'm logged into my OpenLiteSpeed control panel for site1.xyz, which again is the subdomain. And we're going to go to virtual hosts, find our WordPress virtual host, view that, and go over to the rewrite section. And under the rewrite rules here, we're going to edit that and basically paste in those rewrite rules that we got from the official Nginx documentation. So we'll save that, and it says to apply changes, do a graceful restart. We can do that with this green button right here to do the restart. Hit go, and we should be good to go. Now, similarly for the subdirectory install for WordPress multisite, we're not going to use these. We're going to go over here to the official documentation, get these rewrite rules, and I'm also logged into the OpenLiteSpeed dashboard at site2.xyz here. So I'm going to go into my virtual hosts for the subdirectory install and go to the rewrite rules, and again, very similar, hit edit and paste those few lines of configuration in here. So we'll save it, we'll do a graceful restart of the server, and we're good to go. Okay, let's hop back over into the WordPress install, and as it says down here, I'm pretty confident that I have this installed, the DNS settings set up correctly, but I could be wrong. Let's go ahead and try to log in, as it says down here at the bottom. So we'll get kicked out, and then we'll log back in. So let me go ahead and do that. And that looks good, and we'll do the same thing over here for the subdirectory install. Okay, so at this point, pretty much every step in the process is the same. I'll just quickly show you how to do a adding a site here. So just to make sure everything's working properly. So if we go to network admin sites and we can add a new site here, we see the existing site. So we'll add a site as a subdirectory. And just to show you the subtle difference here, let's do the same thing over here on site 2. So if we go to network admin sites, add a new site, you'll see that for the subdirectory case, which is site2.xyz, we add site2.xyz/something, right? It could be anything. We'll say this one is Barry something, and then the admin email, we'll keep it as Tony@Tony Teaches Tech. And this could be a new email, a new admin email. So we'll add that site over here. And if we go to the network admin sites again, we'll see that now that we have 2 sites here. And if we view the site2.xyz/something, we'll see that that loads no problem, thanks to our configuration settings. Now let's cross our fingers here. Hopefully our DNS settings are set up correctly. So we'll do something.site1.xyz. The title will be something grape. And then the admin email will just keep it simple, Tony@TonyTeaches.tech. So we'll add that site. It's now has been added. Let's go to my sites, network admin, and sites. Let's go see if we can view this. And unfortunately, we get the 404 error. Let me pause here. I think I know what's going on. Okay, and that didn't take too long to figure out. It's always hard to do these tutorials because I always forget to tell you to do something, but this is an easy fix. So let me show you and then I'll explain. So let's go into our OpenLiteSpeed admin dashboard for if you're the for the subdomain case, which is site1.xyz. If we go to listeners, and we should have done this prior to installing WordPress Multisite. So if we go to listeners, we find our WordPress listener. We look in here and we edit the virtual host mappings. What we want to do basically here, I personally don't think that it makes sense to have a www version of your website when you're doing a WordPress multi-site, but if you want it, you can keep it here and just add a comma and add a new one. But I'm just going to change that from www to the wildcard character. So at this point, we'll have site1.xyz and star.site1.xyz. And that's why WordPress wasn't able to determine those DNS records. So like I said, we should have did this earlier in the tutorial, but better late than never, I guess. We'll apply those changes, restart the server gracefully, and now my hope is that if we refresh this page, it should serve up the WordPress multi-site. So let's see if that is the case, and it is. So I think we are good to go. If you want a little bit more information about WordPress multi-site, how to set it up beyond this, I have some other videos that you can check out on my channel, and also how to install an SSL certificate for WordPress multi-site using a wildcard SSL. So check out some of those videos. I want to thank you guys for watching. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, and if you do choose to subscribe to this channel, I'll be forever grateful for you. And if you keep on watching, I'll see you in the next one.